And a very good, it'll be a good evening, I suppose, and welcome to what's going to be the Daily Punt preview for racing at Sandown on Saturday, the 8th of January. We're well and truly into the new year now. Happy New Year to you all. I'm going to go to Sandown Park tomorrow with the good lady, mainly because I want to go and have a look at Constitution Hill again before I start parting with some hard-earned cash for the Supreme. He's top of my list at the moment for the Supreme. I think I was there for his debut, and although I have to say, didn't impress me physically, he did impress me in the race. I was stood in the stands after the last, and I said, as I said afterwards in my report, I haven't seen a horse come up that hill at Sandown like that for an awful long time in what was tacky-ish ground. He left the second for absolute dead. Recorded a big speed figure in the process, and for me, what he's done there was better than anything John Bond's achieved so far in his two starts. A couple of dawdles around, recording very moderate speed figures. It's all potential still with John Bond. It's all about potential still and what he might be. But I think on what has been so far, I've been more impressed with Constitution Hill. So I know the weather does not look good tomorrow at Sandown, and by the time the last sort of two or three races come around, it'll have been steadily raining for an hour or two, and it will rain basically all afternoon. So the wet weather gear is out tomorrow. It's going to be, but it's going to be worth it. I hope it's going to be worth it. I hope so. Anyway, we'll go through the card. We'll go through the Sandown Park card. I've got one or two at Wincanton as well, but we're still discussing those. When I say we, that's of course me and myself and Mr. Delagi. We're still discussing whether they're bets tomorrow. They'll be on the Sporting Life punting pointers. As far as this goes, as far as the Sandown card goes, first race, the juvenile hurdle. When I first looked at this on Thursday, I thought, I don't think there'll be a bet here. I had another look at it this morning, and with the rain coming, I'm sort of half changing my mind and thinking that there might be a bet, because I think the one horse here that I think will cope the best with conditions is Moulin Clermont. He's a half brother to a couple of French winners over sort of 2.5 miles that both wanted very soft ground. And on what I've seen so far, both at Compiègne and on his first start here at Fontwell, where he was made even money, he just looks like he wants further already. He already looks like a horse that will want 2.5. And tomorrow, this is going to ride like it will be 2.5, I think. It would not surprise me. I'd just seen about an hour ago, Bet365 went up with prices. They went in 11-4 Moulin Clermont. That's been taken. It's now 2-1. It would not be the biggest surprise to me tomorrow if Moulin Clermont goes off favourite for this. I think he's probably got more potential than both the Malacana and Romeo's Bond, who ran here at the last meeting, was second to Forever Blessed. He was well beaten, just sort of plugged on one pace really, and he's got a penalty to carry for his extra victory. I'd be surprised if Romeo's Bond was able to give the weight away to Moulin Clermont, if Moulin Clermont is what I think he might be. I'm in my head, I've got that the 2-1 that's still available now with 365 is a reasonable price, but I can't take those prices at this particular moment in time. So I'm just going to have to sit and wait and see what's around in the morning. I think if there's any 7-4, 13-08 still around, I think that's probably a bet, because I just think he's got more potential than these, and I think the ground will suit, and it will ride like. I think the key to it tomorrow is it's going to ride like it's going to be further than 2 miles, and that will suit Moulin's Clermont. I don't think he's got a turn of foot per se, but he'll be going on at the end when the others have had enough. And the fact that he gets the £7 off Romeo's Bond tilts it his way for me. The 12:40 is the mares listed race. Good race. Market's got it where I'd have it pretty much, with Gaulois and Martello Sky, not much between the two. Martello Sky did as a big favourite at Cheltenham last time. I really fancied her that day, and I think come March she'll be high on my list for the mares race. But I don't really want to have a bet tomorrow. I think the market's probably got it about right. Goal-wise, he's very useful, and we know that Willie's won this race in the past a couple of times and often turns one over. I think the other three have all got a little bit to do. As much as Sky's had a really good time last year, but Shark Hanlon's a bit out of form. White Hot Chili Filly has got a win here in this race to a name, but I think at the time the horse that she beat last year that's gone on to improve, and I can't remember her name now. It'll come to me in a moment. Hang on, give me a sec. Stormy Island, of course, who won at Cheltenham a couple of weeks ago, wasn't at the best that day, so I don't think that form is as good. I don't think that form is anything like as good as what Martello Sky or Goldwise have been doing in the past 12 months. They should fight it out. I say it's a race to watch rather than bet. Not for me. 1:15, first of the handicaps, this being a handicap chase over 2.5 miles. Again, the more I look at this, the more I think it's no bet. I keep coming back to Darabin, which sort of shows you why it's a no bet race, really, because Darabin's one of them. If he's in the mood, he might take a bit of pegging back, and he'll be, again, much like the Gary Moore horse in the first, he'll be going on when plenty of these have cried enough. But it's just such a, consistency is not his strong point. And you end up looking through the race and thinking you can give all of them some sort of a chance on form, and equally you can knock holes in them all. And then when you're doing that, it just becomes a race where you don't want to have a bet, really. Redzor's very well treated if they can get him back after getting on for a 2-year absence. Look at the draw, will probably go from the front, but is he good enough? I don't know. Go a little, I think handicap is got her about right now. Kilbrook was a winner on much quicker ground than this at Carlisle. I don't know. It's that sort of a race. I don't really want to have a bet. Maybe if Darabin drifted out to double figures, and look well tomorrow as an interest bet. But you could have your money done after 3 fences with Darabin. It's one of those, not really a betting race for me. The 150 though, this might be a betting race. If you're backing Gunsight Ridge, good luck to you. In-running defeats at 5 on, 7 on, and 3 on. Tell you what you're dealing with Gunsight Ridge. I would not back this horse at the price that it is at 7 to 4. For all that, he is consistent, but he really does fine getting his head in front hard. You can argue he's taken on slightly better company than this, but it's a pretty thin argument. It's not for me. The way that the race is going to be run, Numitor will inevitably go from the front, possibly Moonlighter as well, but Moonlighter finds fences a bit of a struggle. If Numitor can shake Moonlighter off early on, that will give Numitor his best chance. Equally, it may be that they go astride too quick early on and that they're going to pay the price for it later. And if that's the case, then maybe Up the Straight. Maybe this is what Up the Straight wants. He runs over further. He runs over sort of 2.5 and 3. Maybe this is actually a well-run 2 mile in Sandown's winter soft stroke heavy is what Up the Straight wants. He's had a few goes around Sandown. He's often outclassed. He runs in better races than this. Takes on better horses. But he did the job nicely enough against Pisgah Pike earlier in the season. He's got a good run against Farinet here to his name last March, over 2.5. Maybe this drop back to 2. As I say, if they go astride quick, it'll play to his strengths late on. And I could see him going close tomorrow. He's probably a win-only bet. The worry would be that they manage to just sort of outpace him and shake him off down the back for the final time before he can sort of kick the final big cogs in. That'd be the concern. With that, I might, if he looks well tomorrow, coming back from a near 300-day break, have a saver on Paddy's Perwim, who, those of you who've followed me for a few years now will know I thought this was a lovely looking horse. I saw him at Plumpton a couple of times in his hurdling career, and I couldn't wait for him to have a go over fences. And he learned. He didn't learn originally. His fencing was quite poor, but he's learned how to jump fences. And Sandown, soft, heavy ground, was very much his thing last year. And he did come back from a break to run well in this last year. Finished He finished second last year. He's off a higher mark this time around. I think he's 9, 10 higher off the top of my head. Might be a bit more than that. But anyway, the bottom line with him is if he's fitting well, he'll get it run to suit as well tomorrow. And with conditions in his favour, he's been put in as the rank outsider. I'm not surprised at that, given he is coming back from a long break. And it may be that the handicapper has him. But again, much as we sort of said, a couple of weeks ago, this is, when the ground is like this, it becomes less about handicapping and a bit more about what's going to handle conditions. And I think Paddy's Poem will handle conditions better than one or two of these tomorrow. So exactly how I play the race is still sort of in the air a little bit. I think Up the Straight is interesting. I think Paddy's Poem is interesting. I'm trying to be against Gunsight Ridge because I think he's too short. So see how it all plays out. So we'll know a bit more once I've seen Paddy's Poem in the paddock, see how fit he is. Then we come to the Tolworth, and as I've said, I think Constitution Hill is... I'm not surprised he took the early sort of 4 to 7, 1 to 2, 4 to 9, because really on what he did there, he looks better class than any of these, I have to say. For all that, the likes of Mr. Glass and particularly Shall We Have One More are going to improve. So is Constitution Hill, I think. And with that, I'll be surprised if he's beat. The game will be trying to find out what finishes second to him. How is the race going to be run is the question, and what's going to lead these. You've got, Mr. Glass we know stays considerably further, so you would imagine they're going to be going to the front to try and use his stamina to run the finish out of Constitution Hill. But conversely, I think all that's going to do is help Constitution Hill settle, and he'll just travel in behind. And then maybe Mr. Glass will pay the price late on for trying to sort of win the race and run it out of him, and that leaves it open for the likes of Jetoile and Shall We Have One More to take the runner-up spot. You're pretty sure how Shall We Have One More is going to be ridden. He'll be ridden stone cold chilly out back and be brought through with his effort late. He was a bit unlucky not to win really at Ascot. I would imagine Jamie Moore would be trying to hold on to him for a little bit longer this time. He looked all over the winner, and then Can Do Kid just sort of wore him down after the last. So I think this time they'll be hanging on a little bit longer, particularly with the uphill finish to Shall We Have One More. I think he looks probably the obvious one for second. I've been quite taken with Jetoile though. Trainer Ryan Potter has rather shown himself this year to be adept at landing gambles in low-grade races, shall we say. He's 2 or 3 of those that have already gone in. And he's done well with Jetoile, 2 runs. Quietly impressive at both Chepstow and Leicester. Another one that stays a bit further than this. So again, much like Mr. Glass, I expect the 2 of them to be sort of pushing on a little bit. But less so, I think, Jetoile. I think they'll be happy to sort of sit second with him. And let Mr. Glass get on with things. Maybe he can pick the pieces up as well. The worry for me with That's All Right, Gino, is going to be the ground. This will be a lot different to what he's been encountering at Cheltenham last time and Fontwell before that. That was genuine good ground, and this will be completely different. It's a bit of a worry for me. So I think I'm really hoping that Constitution Hill wins and wins well, because as I say, I think at the moment he's just about top of the list for me as regards the Supreme, certainly on this side of the IOC anyway. Veterans, then come the vets. I suppose it's a little bit disappointing in a way. We've only got 13. It's normally sort of, fills up quite well, and you get, 15, 16, 17 runners. So, we might be a runner or 2 shorter of what I was expecting, but still an interesting race, and a race that is going to be run at a very, very solid pace. You can take your pick here. Dancing Shadow, Indy 5, Valadon can go from the front. Psychedelic Rock, when he won at Kempton, went from the front. Dashing Perk tends to go from the front or near the front. The King's Writ last time at Exeter went from the front. Sir Ivan went from the front and has done before. He went from the front at Warwick. There's a lot here that will either be on the front or near the front. And it's going to play, I think, into the hands, particularly, again, you're looking at race 6 on the card. The rain's been falling and falling. We're going to be having soft stroke heavy ground, bordering on heavy ground now. It's a little bit quicker on the chase course at the moment. By now, this is going to turn into a proper stamina test. And with that, that's a worry for me with ASO. I've had this conversation with Mr. Delagi a couple of times already this week about whether ASO truly stays 3 mile or not. He'll probably get 3 mile flat track, soft ground. Yeah, he just about gets it. Whether he's going to get it up a hill, he's got to come up that hill twice. Don't forget, up there in what's going to be really testing ground, getting it twice. I don't think so. I don't think it's his bag. For all that he's got a bit of class over these, that's a worry for me. And I think, however you slice and dice this race, Final Nudge has got to be in the frame, and you can still get about 5-1 on him. And I think that's an each way bet to nothing with extra places, because as the front runners start to fall away and others start to paddle in the ground a little bit, Final Nudge should still be one of those that's going, 4 out before the pond, come in there looming large, and he'll stay on all the way up the hill. Loves heavy ground, stays all day. We know he gets, he gets 4 mile easily, and really just, he was third in the Midlands National last year. He got, and travelled really well there. Traded just over even money in the run. Didn't quite get home, but he certainly gets 4 mile, and that is stamina, his undoubted stamina. It would not be the biggest surprise again tomorrow if Final Nudge goes off favourite. To me, I could see the two of them sort of flip flopping. As the rain comes and more people sort of realise that this is going to turn into effectively a sort of, it's going to ride like 3.5-4 miles by the time they're done, especially if they go hard early with the front runners. The other one that I sort of quite like, and I shouldn't really, but because he doesn't jump very well, but Gwensilly Burbus, I'm worried that the railways will catch him out, but he's another, came back to form at Exeter last time, when again in a race where they went reasonably quickly. I mean, if you look at the finishing speed of the race, they're slowing up badly, and it might be exactly the same again tomorrow, that the finishing fractions are slow. That will suit Gwensilly Burbus, because again he stays a lot further than this, and he'll act in the ground. It's just whether his jumping holds up. It doesn't always, and you can see him, routing 1 or 2 of the railways, and then you're in trouble, aren't you? So again, it'll all depend on price, but I am keen on Final Nudge. I think he's probably my best bet tomorrow. I really fancy him. I think he'll go well. We'll touch on the last as well. Not a massive lot of interest, but my old friend Zambezi Fix is in here. He just trades short without winning, doesn't he? Look at some of his last 5 runs. He has traded without winning any of them at 1.79, 1.16, 2.54, 2, and last time at Chepstow, even where his jumping wasn't that great, 3.1. That was over fences. Back over hurdles here. If he reproduces his second here, 2 starts ago in December, when he travelled up really well and only found Samurai, the unexposed Samurai, too good for him, he'll be in the frame. You want the 8 runners. You want the 8 runners, don't you? Let's face it. If you get the 8 runners, then anything sort of 8-1 and bigger each way is great, and you can back to lay him again. I do think Hermes Boy is probably the most likely winner. The Worcester run at October was incredible. The stewards had a word, but were happy with the explanations given. I think he went into everybody's notebook that day. And then at Exeter last time, I think he only had to be nudged out. They're clearly sort of keeping him back with another couple of handicaps in mind. They didn't want to be winning too far. I think Hermes Boy is probably the most likely winner. But as I say, the fun will come with Zambezi Fix if we get the 8 runners and the chance to back to lay him yet again and try and make some profit out of him. Now, there we go. There's the Sandown card. Best bet, as I say, I think Final Nudge will take. I think Final Nudge will take a lot of beating in that Veterans Chase tomorrow, and I think you can get 9-2, 5-1 as I'm sort of speaking. I've had a bit of that now. Come race time, if he went off, 3-1, 11-4, I'm not surprised. I'm genuinely not surprised. There we go. Have a great weekend, all. I will keep doing these videos now throughout the winter and on the run up to Cheltenham. So make sure you keep looking at these, and make sure you keep reading the Daily Punt. Obviously, keep reading the Daily Punt, guys. Thanks a lot. See you all soon.